Vince Sapienza by Vegas. I guess just moved in the room, getting set, reset for Game 3 tonight.
Yeah, listen, we weren't at our best Game 2, so we understand that. We talked about some things correct, like most teams do when they, it's not to their liking, and get better tonight.
Bruce, do you find your team, emotions got up last game? Is your team better when the stakes get increased as far as the energy level, emotion, a little nastiness in the game?
From the get-go, right? When it's 5-0, a lot of that happens throughout the playoffs in any series. To me, we need to get into the fight right away. Bring your emotion in terms of puck battles, winning your races, winning the slot battle, net front, all those things. That's when our emotion needs to be there for us, not when we fall behind and now want to, whatever teams do, right, to establish some territory, whatever, you know what I mean? It happens a lot. At the end of the day, we need to be emotionally engaged from, puck drop, and that's when we're at our best.
When McDavid and Draisaitl play together on the same line, what's the challenge for your group out there against them, just to kind of be aware of both guys as opposed to maybe just having to worry about one at a time if they're separated?
Well, even separated, to me, it's a similar animal. They're both dominant players. And the awareness of getting above in a hurry when you turn pucks over, even in the O-zone, if your point shot comes through and it gets knocked down, you got to be ready to get out, which is a little counterintuitive, right? When you're in the O-zone, you want to keep playing beyond pucks, but you got to be mindful if they can get away in a hurry. So that's where you got to be a little bit careful. Your line changes in the second period. Any quick up and you're not catching them. How you manage the puck off the rush. If it's a lateral pass, we got into trouble at a couple of those the other night where they're going the other way. So you don't want to paralyze how you're going to play the game yourself. You still got to be in attack mode, but there is obviously a threat there that you have to be aware of. And sometimes, to me, that simple thing is shift length, so you have the energy. If you're reloading well and our defense, we tend to play rushes pretty well, then we'll end up meeting them in the slot or at the net if we do that. So to me, whether they're on the ice together or separate, like I said, it's still a very similar threat because they're both dangerous in open ice. McDavid seems to find Draisaitl more than maybe the other way around at times. I think he just has the puck a lot. That's probably why. But that's not going to affect how we check because McDavid can pass to Hyman, to Kane. There's a lot of different guys he can set up. So you got to be mindful of who his outlets are all the time when he has the puck. I think that's one of the better ways to play him is take away his outlets and hopefully you can keep him outside. Doesn't always work that way. You saw him get inside the other night on breakaways. So like I said, it's a tough challenge, but it is what it is in that area.
Bruce over here on your, sorry, just when their power play is clicking at over almost 60%, does that affect maybe the way you guys, how hard you forecheck or how hard you play them physically, or is that you just got to stay on that right side of the line?
No, I think, some of the infractions we took the other day were high sticking, right? And there were puck battles, some of them, and your stick comes up. You got to be hard on your stick against this team. I think they'd say the same with us, so sometimes it comes up. So we've been a very good team this year, checking with our feet and our legs. We didn't take a lot of penalties. The last game was the exception. We got to get back to where closer to game 1. I think we had 3 infractions, so that's reasonable. That was where we were during the year. I think a little less than that against Winnipeg, similar. So for us, you still got to play hard. You got to take the body when it's there. You got to get engaged in your puck battles. And just avoid the stick ones, right? Your stick can't get parallel in today's game, so use your feet. We've been pretty good at that. The other night, too many opportunities for them. Saw what happened.
So the other team's power play is pushing 60%, and all us media guys and everyone around the league is going ooh and ah and all that. Is it up to you guys?
You should. It's 60%, right? That's historic.
Yeah.
So I get it why everyone's talking about it. It's just typically doesn't happen. That's why. Right.
Is the onus on Vegas to fix that?
Yes, absolutely. And we felt like we had a plan coming in to take away certain outlets, and they found other ones. They look for Hyman a lot more back post. That they have a lot of different. It's like a quarterback with his receivers, right? They're pretty good at going from 1, 2, 3, 4 and finding all their outlets. They're very good at it. That's why they function at such a high rate. They're not one-dimensional. So for us, part of it is we revisit it. We've revisited it now 3 times, right? Because it's good. So we'll try something else that maybe is more suitable to us and still take away some of the outlets. But that's the challenge. It was a challenge for LA. If Edmonton advances, it'll be a challenge for the next team. And part of that is staying out of the box, as we spoke of earlier, and we have to do a better job with that. And there's other ways. To me, it's zone time you can limit. So in the face-off circle, we need to win the draw as a group of four. Entries, if we could be better. Again, McDavid's pretty tough to stop, and he's in space. So there's different things you're going to try to do. Make sure you're 100% on your clears, but we'd like to push them a little farther away from our net tonight. That's something we talked about because Bouchard's doing a good job when it's his turn to shoot. But we'll see how that plays out.
In terms of spending a little more time in the offensive zone, in the first round, you were kind of emphasizing, and you guys were having a lot of success in chipping it deep and trying to get possession that way. Do you want to see more of that tonight, or is it a different approach against this team?
No, we do. I think game one, we did a good job. Got a leg up on them and built on that. That's what we want to do. The other night, we didn't have the puck much, Jesse. We lost, I think, 70% of the draws in the first period. So when you're chasing the puck, it's hard to establish a forecheck. You're getting out of your own end, you're tired, you're changing, and they come back at you. So that's what happened the other night. They won all the races and battles, and it took us out of how we feel we can be successful. So we'll get back to that tonight. I mean, give them credit. They did a good job. They responded well. They're a good team. It's our turn now to do that.
You have a couple guys in your top six, Marchessault and Smith, that haven't been scoring as much as they did in the regular season. Is there anything you could do to get that going?
Well, they haven't scored at all, right? So we've still won 5 games out of 7. So we feel that we have enough guys in their locker room that can score goals for us. Is there anything we can do? Yeah, we're going to give Marshy some more touches on the power play. They play similar spots. We can't, Jack's on the other elbow, so we'll switch them up. Maybe that helps Marsh get a few more looks at the net. At the end of the day, I think Marsh has been close. The last game, he had some good looks. His game, to me, is closer to scoring than maybe Riley's right now. I think Riley needs to get to the interior ice a little more often. The rush game hasn't been there that much for them. That's when typically him and Carly are good. Now, Amadio scored in game 1 off the rush, so there are some opportunities, but the onus becomes on the player when you're not scoring to put yourself in areas where you'll see more pucks. That's usually in the slot, that front, those areas. That's not a natural place for Riley, so he'll just have to keep playing through it. For me, help us win, right? If the goals will come eventually because their resume says they will. So that's what I believe if we play long enough. And that's what's been discussed with them.
Bruce? Yeah, just the players were saying this morning in the dressing room that they thought your players, a couple guys said, "Don't worry, we won't be flat." Do you get a feel when you're around them and have an inkling on what you're going to get that night?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you get to know your team. I think we discussed this yesterday. Our team sometimes has had these flat moments too often for a coach's liking, because I've always felt that that's your first job, is to prepare them to play. I mean, they got to get out on the ice and do it. But and there's been times this year where game 1 against Winnipeg, I did not see it coming. It's the first playoff game, but experienced a few years ago, go back in time with Boston, happened one of the playoffs. It was our worst game, was our first game. And sometimes the playoff intensity just sneaks up on you. It shouldn't, but it does. But now that you're into the series, no, I don't worry now, because I think once you get into it, now you're starting to develop a little bit that, okay, this is, I'm playing against this guy again tonight, and it's familiarity brings out the best in you, and I think it happens for both teams typically.